Welcome to the Emergency Traffic Podcast.
Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of the Tailboard Talk on emergency traffic, where we sit around the fictitious tailboard in the station and talk about current events that maybe affect firefighters that have an opinion on and discuss them amongst the group here. My name is Paul. I'm your host, along with our co-host today. We have Zach and we have Dirk, and they're going to join us for a good discussion about remote-controlled monitors, otherwise known as robots in the fire service, although they're not a robot because they're not automated. They don't think for themselves. They don't make decisions. They're remotely controlled by an operator. They may be tracked. They may be on wheels. They may have monitors. They may have cameras. They may have fans. They may have fans that inject water or foam. Anyway, we're going to talk about those. Before we get into that, how's everybody today?
I'm good. I just finished work and managed to scrape down some food to get here for this podcast. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Just counting down the days till I get to go home.
Yeah, you're on your work site and
You betcha.
protecting all the staff and investment of the company and
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
all that kind of good
Insurance.
stuff.
I'm protecting the company's insurance. That's what I'm doing.
The fire service is risk management. That's what we're there.
That's it.
Even in the little towns that we're in, or the big cities, or the industrial camps, it's all risk management.
Yeah, exactly.
I always used to tell the firefighters, we're not here for the car fire or the garbage can fire or even the house fire. We're here for the 10 house fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's why insurance companies get a discount on rates when there's a fire department in the community that responds.
Absolutely.
Dirk, how are you?
I am well. Better time management than you guys, I think, because we finished dinner, nice and quiet, and then we watched a little show before I came up here. And other than that, nothing really happened. It's all good. I'm days off. Excited to go back. Just slowly moving up the ladder there, the career ladder, which is seniority system. So I worked hard. I studied so hard, and I sucked up to a lot of people to get into my position.
Yeah.
Well, enough of me.
We had supper, and I managed to do the dishes, and had a few minutes to study. I'm going to co-teach a course next week, so I haven't taken it before. So I've been studying away to make sure I know maybe a little bit what I'm talking about. So that'll be fun. Teaching Incident Command Safety Officer position specific course for 3 days. So yeah, so it should be good. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, remote controlled firefighting vehicles. We saw we actually recorded this one before, but there was some technical issues with my my audio.
Your fault.
Your mic in particular.
My mic, we're redoing it. So
your fault.
It's my fault. Anyway, we had done it soon after we'd seen a video from Los Angeles City, I believe, fire department, that had bought a remote controlled track monitor, and they had a video posted online of it working in a strip mall that had been badly damaged in a fire during the later phases of the fire. And then our friend Paul Fresnel, I believe his name is, on Fire Trucks Old and New, had posted some videos from Europe of some remote controlled monitors and fans being used and practiced with in Europe, which brought us to the discussion is what do we think about these things, and should we have more of them maybe for those dangerous assignments? One of our big cities here had a recycling center fire or something that they fought with master streams and aerials and stuff for 20 some hours and flowed lots of water, and maybe something like that would have been useful. What do you guys think?
I don't think that we're at the point now where it's going to replace firefighters, and I don't think we will be for at least my career, and I've still got a ways to go here. I don't think we'll see that. What I will see these devices used for is exactly what you talked about, like dangerous environments. So like in my line of work, right, industrial, obviously going to be really great to go up and cool a tank that we're worried about, blevying or a vessel or anything like that. Or you don't want to put firefighters in that line of duty or in that line of work just to cool a vessel, right? Like there's no need to put anybody there. If you can use a tracked unit, sure, send that in there, right? We can go stand well clear of the blast area and do the suppression work. In the municipal side of things, I think there needs to be a special need for that. I don't think that it's going to be, going to every house fire. I don't think it's going to be replacing your average firefighter. I think in, like you said, maybe a warehouse or some kind of special building, like you're saying, a facility.
Target hazard.
Target. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Something like that, maybe. But even then, you gotta look at cost, right? I'm sure that they're not cheap.
No, they're red, and it says fire department on it. So of course they're like 10 times more expensive than if you just go Joe Blow it. I want to buy those track things, right? It's funny, Paul, because we started talking about this topic after LA, very progressive department, I might add, had one of these, and the topic never came up before. But for me, it's like this is old news. Like they've been around, and we talked about this, Paul. We went to the same Interschutz in 2000, and they were already around, right? They were very, very specific at that point for industrial fire brigades, protecting chemical plants and all this stuff, and also used for tunnel fires. So obviously, there's more tunnels, especially in the Switzerland area and in Austria and Italy, and so they have car crashes in those things. And once they keep rocking, and their ventilation system can't keep up, then somebody had to come up with something. So there's some interesting special vehicles as well. They're kind of like kind of self-contained positive pressure, so you can drive in. There's some they look like somebody cut two fire trucks in half and put them together with the caps in both directions, so you can drive in and out, so you don't have to turn.
I've
All
seen
these
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and so out of that, they probably look at the industrial fire brigades as like, well, depending on the length of the tunnel, maybe the tracked system would be cheaper, remote controlled, as long as you don't run out of hose or that track can pull the weight of the hose. I think that's the main problem, and for me, that would be one of the things where I'm like, how do we back these things up? They can drag a charge hose line in, but coming back out, I'm not sure. I've never used them, never seen them being used, but I know they've been around for a very, very long time. So I'm excited. Like LA is a leading department in North America, and if they test it and they use it, and it will be great. And I think both and Paul, you both said it. If there's no lives to save, and the property is basically gone, but I still have to put out the fire. Why would I put a firefighter inside that? And I think we just talked about there's a line of duty death where two firefighters died. They went up on kind of like an elevated platform, and they didn't realize to put out hotspots, and they didn't realize that platform was burned, and the whole thing collapsed. So I'm not sure if we talked about this or if that's just something I read lately on the line of duty death report. But those are
There
things that
was
would be,
one recently.
yeah, it would be totally avoidable, right? You don't have to send them in. And my biggest example is when you go back to the footage from the Notre Dame fire in Paris. I mean, the main body of the church, uh, everything came crashing down there, but they had to get in to put water in there. And first of all, even with a hand line, you wouldn't be able to get enough pressure to get enough reach to reach the ceiling of that church. So they brought their remote controlled robot in and helped fighting the fire. So there's definitely use. I'm not sure if every fire department needs it.
So, we're seeing them in big centers, a few here and there, like LA and like Paris. I'm still looking for that video that Paul had posted, but so we're starting to see them here and there, and I really think that there's probably a place for these in the fire service. Of course, you guys get all bent out of shape because I think there's a place for all kinds of equipment in the fire service that most of us don't have. But I guess I'm an equipment Binford 2000 type nerd.
Well, I've
You know,
seen the trucks that you've built and equipped. I've seen it. Oh, there's space. I can put something there.
That's not me. That's the firefighters. It's I like it simple, but people won't believe that. But anyway, you look at Parkland's foam aerial. I get razzed about that all the time by the current chief, with the big calf system and the big foam system. And anyway, but regionally, for those situations, look at recycling fires we're having, where the recycling center fires are burning because of batteries or whatever. Sending a remote controlled monitor in there, rather than guys, because in the end it's just garbage. I mean, you got to dig through it. You got to, but having that, I think, would be an option. I think regionally, and that was the one video. It had like a remote controlled monitor team with 2 or 3 remote controlled monitors on a trailer and a couple of vans with the controllers, and they were taken off to do some regional thing. You think about some of our areas in Canada, like Sarnia or Edmonton, for example, where there's some industrial. There's also lots of industrial related transportation and warehouses and stuff, where a vehicle or an apparatus like this, shared amongst the industrial partners and the municipalities in the area as a resource, I think would be a good idea. The tunnels you mentioned, that's true. Somebody just mentioned Calgary is buying some tunnel equipment or something.
Yeah,
I
I
saw
think it's for their
It was Doug, wasn't it?
subway
light,
system, right?
light,
For the
light,
subway
light rail
system.
transit.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to brag, but back in the old country, 30 years ago, oh, hang on, 1990, I got on with a volunteer fire department in the city of Duisburg, and the city of Duisburg already had a truck and a trailer that was able to get on the tracks and drive into the subway
Right,
system.
right.
Positive pressure, fire extinguishing agents. And actually, here's another thing: like, you can build the best fire truck that you want, but if you drive in an LD, what's it called?
IDLH. IDLH.
IDLH.
Yeah.
Thanks,
If you
Zach.
drive in there, your truck will die, right? It will
There's not
just.
enough oxygen. Yes.
So that's the first thing. Second of all, your SCBA, if you're lucky, you have a 60-minute bottle. And everybody knows 60-minute bottles last 20 on the hard work, right? So now you're in a tunnel that's 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers long. You'll never make it out. So extended duration breathing apparatuses, we had those 30 years ago. Those are the mine rescue devices, right? There's MSA and
Saskatoon,
Dragers.
yeah,
Yeah.
Drager rebreathers.
So
Saskatoon had
those are
those
all
back
things
in
you
the
have to
80s.
consider when you talk about driving into the subway. It's not just, oh, we bought a fancy truck that drives on the tracks, right?
Saskatoon had rebreathers in the 80s for long duration fires, but yet now I think a lot of fire departments don't have rebreathers anymore. I don't know if Calgary or Edmonton or Vancouver or anybody has. They might have.
I saw a video from one of the fire buffs there. New York had some rebreathers, and it was like a rare occurrence that they show up. And I was like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't even have thought of that, but that what an
yeah,
idea.
because you can get like 4 hours out of them.
Yeah, for the
Because of
subway.
the subway, right?
Yeah.
Saskatchewan uses them in all the mines, right? The potash mines. So
Yeah.
that's why they
So
have
if you
rebreathers.
have an application that where you might need it, first of all, where it's predictable, and then you might need it every 4, 5, 6 years, maybe, then yeah, that's worth the investment. But if you don't, and you never have a call, you have to retrain all the firefighters for it. I'm not sure in New York. I think they. Well, we should ask Doug about that, but I think it's the special operations guys that are
Right,
trained in the use, or at least there's certain stations, because
right.
cannot train 12,000 firefighters in the use
No,
of it, right, and be up to
right.
date.
And keep
So
them proficient. Yeah,
and then you have to keep the BAs maintained and all this stuff. So it's all additional costs. And when you say, what you know, what we haven't used them in 30 years, right? That might be the same argument for a robot. And I'm doing the exclamation marks here, robot.
So
yeah. Robot,
to
invisible
back
excavator.
onto the topic here, but something and it could even work in a train in a tunnel or anything like that, is that if you keep up with any of the new military technology at all, They're getting what's called mules, or they're developing what's called mules. And what it essentially looks like, it's like uh, looks like a dog essentially, but it's massive. But it walks on all four legs and it carries equipment for them. So I could see that being utilized in like wildland eventually, right? Because if it can work for the army, wildland, they got to carry all their stuff in, whether it be water packs, extra equipment, pumps, stuff like that. That might be a piece of equipment that'll be available to them in the future. And then even so, like you're talking tunnels, they got to send teams in, they can send them in on tunnels and have, air cascades on that. So that could be a piece of technology that maybe we could see in the future. So stuff like that, I think, fire service will pick away at that
I mean,
stuff. And
we have remote control monitors now on top of your trucks and on your aerials, and so the next step is to put that remote controlled monitor on a ATV, UTV of some sort, all-terrain vehicle, and control it remotely. They use tracks for traction on any kind of surface and stuff. I don't know how far it can drag the hose, but really I don't see this as being a crazy step, into the future, these remote controlled monitors, because we already have remote control monitors. They just don't move on their own. You got to move the truck. And I mean, we've all got the little, I don't want to say, portable monitors. Was it the Blitzfire, what's Acron's? I can't
Quick
remember the
attack.
names now.
quick attack.
Mercury,
Ram
the
XD.
Mercury,
Mercury quick attack.
and
Yeah.
you go and you set it up and you leave it on the exposure. So to buy one, if you have the money, obviously, that moves on its own, and all you got to do is hump the hose behind it. I mean, it makes sense to me, especially regionally. So what, the thing costs, I don't know, $500,000 or $300,000 or something, I'm guessing. I had a link on I had some up here. There a home it's something, Hume or something makes
Yeah,
it.
they're probably not outrageously. I mean, you compare it to a fire truck. Fire truck is way more expensive and complicated and all this stuff. So, yeah, probably yeah, 300,000 maybe. Totally overpriced, of course. But then I've seen them in on the at the Interschutz where they have multi functions, right? The
Right, with the fan
same
and they
exact
inject
base,
water.
water, a fan, actually like a crane, like a excavator, like a little backhoe. You can attach all these things. You can put a skid on it and push snow, and so that the opportunities, like if
Or
you buy
debris.
all these gadgets for it, like you can use it to move snow. Guaranteed, guys, gonna use this every day in Canada.
At the fire station instead of moving
Yeah.
snow.
Well, it's good
How and
practice
how,
though.
I think.
It's good practice. That'd
Operator
be something.
practice. I
When it can
like
start
it.
scrubbing
I like
toilets, come and talk to me.
it.
They would. Firefighters are geniuses. They can come up with something. You put a pressure washer on it, that thing can wash the trucks, right?
Absolutely, there it is.
How and how, which is a division of Textron, makes these remote controlled vehicles. The Thermite is the United States' first commercial firefighting robot. The Thermite. I'm looking at it right now.
Sounds
I think
serious.
there's a place for it. They got two models, a RS3 and an RS1. I think the RS3 is the big one. RS1's really small. Let's see, 8-width highway engine. It's a Kohler or a Yanmar, 38 horsepower. A winch, range 500 meters. Can flow 2,500 GPM. 120 inches long by 65 inches wide. It weighs, the little one's 1,600 pounds, the big one's 3,500 pounds.
So
Yeah, I'm sure if our listeners go back to our Interschutz in Texas uh, podcast, I think I posted pictures and videos that I took at the Interschutz, and I'm pretty sure there was 2 or 3 videos slash pictures of these remote control devices. They had so many of their friend of mine. She works for a industrial fire brigade, and that company actually took that away from their fire brigade just to showcase it They have because they just got it, so they haven't even trained on it. And it's like, hey, could you give us this thing back so we can showcase it? And they did. So it was pretty cool.
I'm really
I think
surprised that even in the industrial setting, we don't see more of these in North America. Like,
me too.
I've been to a few plants just in my time of working, and they don't have any firefighting personnel at all. Um, they are relying solely on the operators of the facility to grab fire hoses with like a day and afternoon's worth of fire hose training and just man it until the industrial company that does this shows up and charges them out the nose for their services. So I'm surprised these aren't a bigger thing. Like, hey,
I
you
might
can
I
train
might have a
anybody to operate
yeah,
this.
I might have an idea why.
Money.
The reason why we have so many refineries is because we don't require them to have these departments. Hence, we save a lot of money so they can produce cheaper. You go to Europe now; it's a requirement to have a fire brigade at a certain size or a hazard that they have, and then it's like, well, now we got to hire full time staff and all this stuff, right? So it's
Well, no, it's the same here. The insurers require that there's a fire service, staffed at a certain minimum standards and all
To
that kind
some
of stuff.
degree, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
maybe
Paul,
more
I've been
minimal.
to those chemical plants and they are the same size, if not smaller, than anything we have in Fort Saskatchewan. And there's no industrial fire brigade in Fort Saskatchewan. Not full time paid with special equipment. Like I show you,
Yeah,
if I show you the trucks that my friend has at the former BASF,
Dow
right?
has Dow has 3 or 4 full-time firefighters on shift all the time,
Yeah.
and Sherritt has uh, 2 or 3
PRT.
full-time that are the chiefs, and then the rest are all volunteers within the plant that are operators. And so does Nutrien, so they all have fire brigades within the plant. Nova here near Lacombe has, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 on duty all the time, plus operators. The
Yeah,
on-duty guys end up being the team
I'm
leads.
talking about they have a fire station, they have
Yep.
specialty trucks for all applications, and they have full time staff 24/7. They also train paramedics. They drive an ambulance. Like it's a fire department just for a chemical plant. And again, the sizes guaranteed here are way bigger than whatever they have in Europe. So I kind of there's a requirement, but it's probably not the same level, right?
It's always a thing, and I've been in this industry for a few years now, and it's always the biggest thing is staffing, and they're always worried about the training of the ERTs. We talked about this in a couple podcasts a little while ago. I think it was Kingsman or something like that about staffing levels, right? And so these pieces of equipment could be utilized, and I'm not saying that it's going to replace us completely, but hey, that's one less firefighter we need. There's one less, operator that needs to put their life in on the line to go stand on a hose line to go cool this vessel. We can use this device to go and move closer to the vessel than what the fixed monitors could do. So there's always an opportunity there, but I think at the end of the day, it comes down once again to the price tag, and maybe just lack of knowledge of these.
I think it's coming. I mean, regionally, in Alberta, it's not a great example for regional fire service integration of actually buying equipment and stuff. We don't get much beyond training together sometimes, and there's a few departments around Edmonton that do their hiring together. But $227,000 US in 2020 for LA's thermite robot. That was the bigger one, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about all right, especially when it's multi-purpose. I'm not sure what they got on there, like cameras, thermal engine cameras, or if you can use it for anything else. But yeah, sure. It's and I
Me,
just found the one that I posted on our Facebook page there. It's called LUF 300. It doesn't have a price tag on it,
right,
but I
that's the
just saw the
European one. That's what I was
it
looking
just
for.
saw the diesel engine, diesel, not electric, diesel
The
engine,
diesel.
300 horse. That thing
Wow.
pulls. I'm pretty sure it pulls a LDH.
There we
That's pretty
go.
impressive.
So, but in a
Yeah.
municipal standpoint, like in let's say your average city, is there a need for these? Do you find is there a big enough reason to pull one of these in, or is it something like Paul said, regional or in Alberta, maybe a company or something like that? Is there that big of a need that fire departments need to go ahead and spend tax paying dollars on this piece of equipment that'll put out one fire maybe every couple of years?
So Paul is a big fan of centralization, right? And I agree, especially on the
Yeah.
volunteer side and stuff like that. But I think the main application I could see for this would be industrial. So if the that say it's these Fort Saskatchewan refinery saying, you know what, we'll throw together a flatbed. We put two or three on these thing. The whole thing costs $1 million, and then share the cost with the surrounding communities. And then for Saskatchewan Fire Department could ask for them. Strathcona County, Edmonton, call them in because again, these are not life-saving devices. These are after the fact kind of overhaul and hotspots putting out. So it doesn't matter if they roll in an hour or 2 hours later after the incident, right? So I think that would be fantastic, especially when we talk about industrial fires, and then once the roof is collapsed, then it's so hard to get in, and then we are there for freaking days, right? But yeah, if you have something to get in, put the hotspots out, and then maybe you can move out a day or 2 days earlier. So yeah, I think centralization would be great. The question is, who does it?
Yeah.
Can we convince the private industry to buy that for the taxpayers and then we share it, or are we going to go the other way around? The private industry is going to tell us, "Hey guys, you should use taxpayer dollars to
That
put it
we're
in."
already paying. That we're already paying you.
They're already paying exactly, but you know my point, right? So they, yeah, sure, they can put it in for Saskatchewan or they can store it in Edmonton, right? But you also need people that train on it, and I think that would be the thing. I mean, nowadays everybody can use a remote control. I don't think it would be rocket science. They don't have a pump; they just have an engine, right? So I don't think it
It'll
would
be
be
the maintenance.
smart.
It'll be the maintenance.
It will be maintenance, yeah, but again, you share costs, right? So maybe it's something for us. We just start our fire robot rental business.
There
There
we
you
go.
go. Just like there's the guys that do the drones that out of Edmonton. There's a company, bunch of ex-military guys that are doing big drones, and they're renting it out to emergency services and oil companies and stuff.
There you
What are they called? Not Phoenix, something with a PH. Anyway,
go.
they'll be mad that I don't know their name, but
They're not
uh,
sponsoring us.
If they're
Once we start
listening,
sponsoring them,
they can. Yeah.
yeah,
they
we'll
can get
bring them
mad.
up all the time. You hear that? Alcatraz, Akron.
MSA.
Give
Yeah.
us some sponsorship. We can do some
See, that's
research.
that's where Paul should play his connections,
Here we go.
to
Yeah.
Should be, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely.
and then we can buy these robots and rent them out. Why not?
Now I'm surfing looking at robots here.
We probably go
There's a
broke.
robot
There's not
dog.
that many big fires.
No, but one thing that is coming in, and it is still a machine and remote control operated is drones.
Yeah.
Right. That's becoming more and more of a thing in
Yeah,
the fire service, and
Flying robots by the fire departments.
absolutely right. Like I
Flying
think
robot.
was it Pierce or is it Rosenbauer that's got the new engine that'll shoot out a drone
Oh,
and
cool.
it'll
Pierce
is it
Pierce has an
Pierce?
agreement with Photokite that you open the compartment door,
Hmm.
like you on a rollout tray, and then you deploy the tethered. That's a tethered drone, so
Heather.
it's
Yeah.
tied to the vehicle.
Yeah.
There's only two makers that I know of in the world. I talked with the one guy from France called LSR,
Mhm.
and it's a tethered robot. And I really think that'd be a great thing. Actually, I think your battalion chief, your commander, on the top of their van or SUV, they get there, deploy that, and they got a bird's eye view of the scene. I think that's
Yeah.
a great idea.
Seen them at
Uh,
Interschutz, and I was thinking right away that that'd be perfect for the chief that says, I don't want to deal with this fucking technology. Get away with this. It's like, Chief, it's so simple. You open the case, you push the on button, and zzz, it goes up, and then you push the return button, zzz, it comes down. It's tethered. It's easy. Everybody can do it.
Yeah. Well, and they're becoming more of a thing even in smaller departments. I know I was just working. What was it just before Christmas there with our mutual aid department,
Yeah.
and they're a very small department, and they had a drone. They've had some money in their budget, and they bought a drone, and we had a plane go down allegedly. Anyway, didn't end up being anything, but we were able to use their drone and scan some of the area with it. So it has its purposes there. I could see it at wildfires, especially in our large grass fires and stuff like that we get in the area. be perfect for that, because that's always the big issue. Is like, okay, well, how big is this? How, we have to send out teams, and we have to send out recon units and all that stuff. So a drone would fix that. And so I think that's something that you're going to see more and more in the fire service, because we're seeing it at the small level, and I'm sure the things will just work up from there if not already.
As Paul said, like our deck guns are remote controlled. I mean, they're with the cable. The newer ones have them remote controlled. Aerial ladders, right? You give the operator that thing, and once it's set up, you can fly this around from anywhere, right?
Yeah, the
Which I
aerial
like.
that
You can sit in a cafe,
the extremely bare bones aerial that I helped Parkland County buy had 4 remote control monitors that were, and you would just select which one you wanted to control on the controller, and they were color coded. What a great idea, Paul! And then they, instead of left, right, because you have no idea, which way the truck's oriented, and they could control the 2 monitors on the basket and the 2 monitors on the truck from the remote control within so many 100 feet away. So you could see where you're spraying your water, so that when you went out to a grain elevator that was burning at 40 below, you could actually see where your water stream was going and maybe make it effective.
I
See,
don't
the
know. Wrong
technology,
nozzle on that.
is there, right? It's just we're so
All you got to do is change
lacking
it to
behind.
straight. Just got to change it to straight stream, Zach.
Oh, no.
I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 remote control firefighting robots, quotation marks, on my internet search here today. I'll add them to the posts for the podcast on Facebook and Twitter when we get this tailboard out.
I can give you a couple that I saw at the Interschutz. There might
Yeah,
be no
yeah.
European, no, but I think one of the companies is like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. So I'm thinking they're worldwide. Just
Yeah,
just
yeah.
saying, and they
Maybe.
actually come in yellow for construction. Pretty sure they're $100,000 cheaper.
No way. Go on. That's not true. That's just a
Yeah,
myth.
there. Come on, Paul. You
That is
you
a
say
myth.
you say municipality wants to buy a toilet seat, and instead of $50, it's
No,
500.
no,
Oh
that's
yeah.
not
Oh
true.
yes, that's how that
It's
works.
because it's got to
Know your
be
customer.
green, and it's got to be this, and it's got to do this, and yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Anyway, that's kind of our talk on remote controlled monitors. I think that it's actually something that we're going to see at more and more fire departments near us. How we buy them and put them into service is going to be the question. But I think rather than sending the guys in, or just the excavator to rip it down, I think it's an option. If you got to knock down some hot spots, you got to go in and do a search for your members, because you can't get in there. Yes, Dirk.
Shout out to our friend Dougie. It's his birthday today.
Right,
That's true.
right. Now we're
Happy
gonna know what
birthday,
to
Doug.
do. Happy birthday,
Happy
Doug, when he
birthday,
listens to it.
Douglas.
Yeah, yeah. That's why he's not here tonight. And he doesn't want to talk about robots, because New York doesn't have one. I mean,
Yeah.
remote
Not yet.
controlled monitors.
Oh, they have a robotic department now that has all the drones. I told him, and he didn't want to talk about it. So I'm pretty
Perfect.
sure New York is going to look into this.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning in to the tailboard. We're gonna go ahead and get some Joe in the kitchen, and that'll be that. Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
Stay safe, everybody.